museum back to life.
You know, people sit out on the front porch hoping people will come by.
Go forth and do good.
It's insane. I have the most understanding wife in the world.
I treat everybody the same thing.
Oh, that's the other thing I love about Marietta. It's like a melting pot.
You are listening to Marietta Stories. Each week, veteran podcaster Bill Nowicki brings you the heartwarming, interesting, and fun stories from the people that make the community of Marietta, Georgia, a place to call home. Here's your host, Bill Nowicki.
Adrian Crutchfield is going to be a great person to see. He's coming to Marietta Jazz and Jokes on Friday, November 19th from 8:30 to 11 over at the Prestige Bistro, which is on East Piedmont Road. Please check him out. He's got such a great resume when it comes to playing with all kinds of great people. And he's also got a great story, so I'll let you hear it. Adrian Crutchfield. I've read up on you a little bit. I know you were born and raised in Roanoke, Virginia, now live in Charlotte, but you're coming to Marietta. I read an article about you, and I know you work with folks like Prince and other famous folks. Prince had a message for you that I thought was fascinating. Why don't you start with that?
I've made my career as a supportive artist to other acts. I started early as a solo artist, and I just couldn't get anything done as far as getting placement, radio placement, things like that, getting recognized as a solo artist when I was younger. So I was pretty jaded by the industry because, even though I guess you could call me a smooth jazz artist, I didn't like being categorized. I should just be able to play whatever music I enjoy and want to write. And I learned very quickly that that's just not the way it is in the industry. If you're an instrumentalist, then 9 times out of 10, they're going to put you in the jazz category. Uh-huh. And because of that, when it comes to radio play and all that stuff, they don't really like for you to change things up. They want it exactly how they want it. And so with my music, I always incorporated hip hop, rock and roll, whatever I could find that intrigued me, I would incorporate it. Therefore, I just could not get radio play, and I couldn't really get any love from the industry. So I was jaded, and I decided, you know what, from now on, I'm gonna play for other artists and just have fun instead of being stressed out by the industry. Also, being a band leader and being a solo artist is just a lot of responsibility. Yeah. I never really liked the attention. I definitely didn't like the workload, like of being the last to get paid, the one doing all the work, trying to make sure everybody learns their music. You know the deal. Yeah, right. And so after I did my first album, which was called Private Party, I just hung it up and I said, you know what? I'm not going to do any more albums. I'm going to make a career out of touring and being the Maceo Parker to someone's James Brown. My career from then went on to, from touring with Young Jeezy and Lil Wayne to Anthony Hamilton to a bunch of different acts, and then eventually leading me to Lionel Richie and then to Prince as well. I was with Prince 4.5 years before he passed. That last year, 2015, 2016, is when I really started to get really close to him. I mean, we were already friends, I believe, but in 2015 is when I really started to see another side of him, and he started opening up and actually having conversations with me, particularly with me and Mono Neon, the bass player. Asked me one day, he had done this thing. Are you familiar with the peer-to-peer distribution?
No.
There's so many facets to the story. I'm sorry I keep
that's
going.
Okay.
So peer-to-peer distribution is something that I like to coin. I believe Prince basically started it. I don't know of any other artist that has done this. So I'm going to give Prince credit for it until somebody else tells me different. But what it was is, Prince was always in a battle with his label. He was always trying to get over on them. They were always trying to get over on him. He created this thing called peer-to-peer distribution, which is basically, let's say that you are an avid Prince fan in your area, and I'm an avid Prince fan in my area, right? Management may call from Paisley Park and say, hey, Adrian, we know you're a fan. We were wondering if you want to partner with us, be the sole distributor in your region for the next Prince album. And if you're a fan, of course you're going to say yes. And so what they did is they sold these records to the fans at like wholesale prices, and then the fans redistributed them. So if you're Prince, you've got at least 100 people in every region that are willing to do this. If you get 10 people in each state and you sell each of those 10 people 100 records at $12 a pop, you do the math. You've already made your money back on the record, and then those people resell the records for $15, $16, $17, $18. They make their money, and that's what peer-to-peer distribution was. We were discussing that because Prince knew that I was doing, every now and then I would do my own show. When we were off, I would do concerts, little jazz, jazz concerts. And so he asked me about it, and he said, well, are you still selling records? And I said, yeah. And he said, so you're still selling the record you came out with 10 years ago? And I said, yep. And he said, well, why haven't you done another record? And I said, I really don't want to, because I don't want to go through the drama. I don't want to spend the money for the radio industry to tell me that I can't do something or that I'm not supposed to do something. And I said, quite frankly, I'm happy being the Maceo Parker to your James Brown.
Yeah.
And I thought that would buy me another couple of years at Paisley Park by saying that. He was definitely flattered, but he had this look of disappointment on his face. He said, basically, I'm paraphrasing, but he said, that's cool. He said, but James is dead. What's Maceo doing now?
Yeah.
Maceo was just kind of falling into his solo stuff, doing it more. And so I just looked puzzled. Prince said, you'll always have a place here. This will always be home for you. But you owe it to yourself and to the people who are listening to create your music, just like I do. He's like, you're an artist just like I am or anybody else. It would be a shame if you didn't do that. And he said, and the last thing he said in that conversation was, sometimes you have to take a leap for yourself. So that stuck with me forever. That was our last real sit-down, face-to-face conversation while hanging out at Paisley Park. And I went home maybe a week later, and then we were supposed to play Atlanta.
Right.
The Piano and the Microphone tour. He had Mono and I on standby to do an after party. And that's when he got sick. So he postponed the Atlanta show. And so I called, to see if he was okay. They said he was fine. He rescheduled the show, but he said, we're not going to do the after party because I'm still not 100%. And then, that was the last real conversation I had with him. And I don't know if you remember that Atlanta show, but that's when he did the emergency landing with the plane and all that after that.
Yep.
And then like maybe a week later or 2 weeks later, he was gone. So,
yeah.
But yeah, that always stuck with me. I'm sorry that story was so long, but there's a lot of details in it.
I love the different aspects of the story that you brought up. But to me, focusing on that kind of moment where you shifted, your whole life shifted because you were very comfortable. It sounded like being in that role with Prince and other bands and performers. And then, you're right. What are you going to do? What are you going to do with the rest of your life? So he nailed it on the head, man. I've been extremely blessed. I cannot complain. I love my life. I love the people that I've had the chance to work with. But at the end of the day, there's no consistency in that. Yeah.
I can't depend on that for the rest of my life, because what if one day I just stopped getting that call?
Yeah.
And that was the realization that I had. I was like, wow, I've been kind of riding the wave. Well, what happens when those calls stop? I still got to have something for me. And on top of that, these artists, I love them, God bless them, but they're all rich. So they can decide, you know what, I don't want to go on the road this year. I'm going to take a year off. But that leaves the rest of us kind of out to dry. So I made a choice, and I said, all right, I'm going to put out my record. And I'm going to call it leap, because that's what he told me to do, is take a leap.
Well, that's great. And it also describes someone that has impacted your life from just having a crucial conversation with you.
Yeah.
Hey, dude, look in the mirror, brother.
Yeah. That was a surreal, I'll never forget it. That was a surreal moment. And to have that conversation with someone of that caliber is just unreal to me.
Talk about when you were a young child in the Kenny G concert. I think that's a cool story too.
I've got a lot of stories, man. I got my first saxophone from Kenny G. That's the whole reason I play music. And being from Roanoke, it's not a big town. It definitely wasn't a big town at that point. my town has always seen that as an omen, that he saw me and gave me a horn. So, of course, from that moment on, I was destined to be an entertainer. I was 4 years old, and my parents scored tickets last minute, floor seats to the Kenny G concert. I'm not entirely sure how they did it, but they got them, and they could not find a babysitter. Mainly because every babysitter in town was terrified of me. That's what I believe. But they called ahead. The Civic Center basically told them that I'd be fine, I could come, and they wouldn't have to pay extra for me or whatever. So we're watching the show. I can't really see anything because people are standing up, whatever. So my dad puts me on his shoulders so that I can see. And I'm just kind of enjoying the show and the lights and whatnot. Kenny G stops playing and goes to the mic and says, I could have sworn, they have the searchlight that goes across the audience. And he says, I could have sworn I saw a toddler out there enjoying the show. So he made them take the searchlight and go back through the audience. When they found me, he stopped and he said, and I'm on my dad's shoulder, so I don't know what's going on. He said, yeah, there's a kid. And my reaction was, there's another kid. Because I'm thinking, I don't know he's talking about me. So I'm like looking around like, if there's another kid here, that's somebody for me to play with. He asked my parents to bring me on stage. We went up to the stage. He asked me a bunch of questions, and we had a nice little dialogue, made the audience laugh. He played like a childish, I think he played Mary Had a Little Lamb or Twinkle, Twinkle, Little Star, something like that. And he asked me if I liked the saxophone, and I said yes. And he asked me if I wanted to play the saxophone when I got older. And I said, yeah. And so he gave me my first sax. Not really a saxophone. It's more of a wind synthesizer, the Casio wind synthesizer, which is like, I don't know if you're familiar with wind synths, but like the Iwi or the Aerophone.
Is that the thing that Jack Black played on? You're probably not familiar with, but I saw Jack Black play looked like a toy almost on a talk show. It might be. Yeah.
I've never seen it. I need to. Can you send me that?
Yeah, I'll send you the link.
Because I like Jack Black. I mean, I like
Yeah.
I like Tenacious D. Anyway, it's something of that nature. It's basically a synthesizer that you blow into, right. And you can make different synth sounds. You can control it with MIDI. But that's what he gave me, and that's what started my whole career as a musician.
That's amazing.
Yeah.
Talk about, because I did watch you on YouTube. You don't stand still.
No.
You move around a lot. Why do you do that? Is it your child in you still?
I think so. I think it's a little bit of that. I think it's a little bit of, I'm just having a great time when I play. My belief is that if I don't have a good time, then I can't expect you to have a good time. Yeah. So it's like, you know those musicians that are always asking the audience to get up and clap and dance, but they don't do anything? I can't expect you to do it if I'm not going to do it. I guess it's partially to hype the crowd and get them involved. And and also it's exercise. Like, it's just good cardio on stage to dance and have a good time. I'm a dancer at heart. So, with Prince, half the show with Prince is the horns. We're dancing. If we're not dancing and we're not having a good time and having a party, then how can we expect you, the audience, to have a party and have a good time? Those musicians who stand still on stage, I got nothing against it, but I always like to say that people who aren't musicians, the people who are coming to the show, 9 times out of 10, they're going to do what I call hearing with their eyes.
Yeah.
So you ever been to a show and somebody said, this is the best show I've ever heard? They never say that. They say, this is the best show I've ever seen.
Right. Good point.
It's all about the look. That's why lighting is so important.
Yeah.
That's why atmosphere is so important. If it wasn't, we'd stand in a room with all the lights on and stand still on stand mics and just play and stare at each other.
Yeah.
But it's about energy. So, I'm trying to exchange energy with my audience, I guess. So make a long story short.
That's totally cool. Yeah. So what, you're coming to Marietta, what should folks expect to hear and experience? Well, see, I should say.
Oh man. Yeah. Good catch. really, I just want to come and have a good time. I want to play some of my favorite songs. I want to play some of my originals for them. I want to just exchange energy with a great crowd, and that's all I can expect. That's all I can ask of the audience is just come prepared to have a good time and enjoy some good music and some good drinks. And if you feel like dancing, that's even better, because I'm going to dance regardless of whether they dance or not.
Yeah.
So, so yeah, I just want to come and share an experience with some people that love music as much as I do.
Yeah. Well, I'm super excited to see, and I know folks are going to love it. You're going to love the venue. It's beautiful, and the light, the sounds. Fontaine knows how to bring. He's got a really strong music lover audience that shows up every time, and you're going to be dancing along with a bunch of people. I can guarantee that.
I can't wait. Hopefully, this will be the first of many
Great
situations like this. So, I guess I'll see you there.
I'd love to catch up with you and say hi. That sounds great.
Yeah, man.
All right.
Looking forward to it.
All right. See you on the 19th at Marietta Jazz and Jokes. Get your tickets now at Prestige Bistro, 2520 East Piedmont Road, Marietta. Check it out. I'll see you there.